Hello everyone. It is time for my April Roundup. This is where we take a look at all of the empties that I managed to accumulate over the last month and all of the new products that entered my collection during that time. I actually only have a few empties today, just a handful, but April, as you may know, was sale month for pretty much everyone, so quite a few things entered my collection during that time. We are going to take a look at the empties first, and then we'll talk about the new stuff. I will timestamp everything, so if you're interested in one and not the other, feel free to skip around. First empty is this L-ascorbic acid powder from The Ordinary. I have been using this for years. This is a powdered form of vitamin C, and you can mix it in with a compatible serum. You want to make sure it's compatible with vitamin C. For instance, copper peptides I know are not compatible with vitamin C, so do a little bit of research before you start making your own serum. But vitamin C is not stable in water, and that's usually what it's mixed with to create a vitamin C serum. It will slowly oxidize over time, going from clear to orange. When it does that, it becomes ineffective. So over the last several years that vitamin C has been a part of my skincare routine, I have had to throw away so much vitamin C serum that has oxidized before I could get to it. You know, the stuff that's left at the bottom of the bottle? Anyway, I've had to throw away so much of that stuff that finally I just started picking up this powdered version and making my own serum by mixing it in with my Dear My Dew tranexamic acid serum. That's the one that I am liking the best right now. I've used that for a couple of years now, and it's really, really nice. I really enjoy this powder because I know that the vitamin C serum that I'm putting on my face is good. It hasn't oxidized, and it's going to be effective because I've made it right then and there. Word to the wise, if you are mixing your own vitamin C serum, and if you do the mixing in the palm of your hands, make sure you scrub down those hands real well because it will stain the palms of your hands. DHA, which is the active ingredient in self-tanner, is a form of vitamin C, and you'll get a similar effect if you mix a vitamin C serum in your hands and you don't wash pretty well. I actually keep a little nail brush by the sink, and I kind of scrub down the palms of my hands after making my serum in the morning. If you do that, you'll be fine. If you don't, you might notice a little bit of tinting on the palms of your hands. Nothing scary, but you'll probably also smell a little bit of that self-tanner smell. I have finished this entire jar, and I have purchased another one that I am already using. So really like this stuff, will continue to repurchase. The rest of these are makeup products. Here is one that I have been working on for a very long time. I had this rolled into my 50 Shades of Brown project pan, which started 2 years ago at this point. I wasn't able to finish it, so I rolled it into my 50 Shades of Black project pan, and I managed to get it done. So if you saw my finale for the 50 Shades of Black project pan, you probably saw this already. This is my ABH contour stick in the shade Mink. This is my favorite contour, and I was very sad when Anastasia came out with a new contour stick and is phasing out this one. I don't even think there are any shades available on her site anymore. So when I found out that she was releasing the new one, I kind of panic bought a backup. So this one is finished. She's down to the plastic now. I could go in there with a brush, and honestly, I still might. But for all intents and purposes, I consider this an empty, and as soon as I'm ready, I will break out that backup that I have. I have not tried Anastasia's new contour stick, so I don't know. I might end up liking that one just as much, but I won't need to do that for a while yet because it took me freaking forever to get through this one, and I have a whole nother one to go. So that one is done. I also finished what has become my new favorite liquid eyeliner. This is from Heroin Make. It is a Korean brand. This is their smooth liquid eyeliner in the shade 01. It is a beautiful brush tip, and I just find it so easy to use. It lasted absolutely forever. I want to say for a good 5 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. I picked this up off of Amazon. It is not expensive. I can't remember how much I paid for it, but it was very affordable. Definitely more affordable than my previous reigning champion, which was the Stila Stay All Day liner. I have not repurchased this one yet because I still do have a couple of Stila liners to get through before I need any more liquid eyeliner, but I can't wait to be able to go back to the Heron Make liner because I really, really did enjoy this. Here's one that I'm not sure if I've spoken about. I may I may have talked about this in my last month's empties, but I'm not 100% sure. You may be asking yourself, Rebecca, why don't you just throw away your empties once you talk about them? I usually do that. However, over the last couple of months, my baby has been in a phase where she doesn't want to play with toys. She wants to rifle through my things. And so what I have been doing is I have been taking all of my empties and putting them in a little busy box for her. And it just delights her so much. She can't ruin anything. She can't make a mess. It's been fabulous. Obviously, I probably wouldn't put something like this in there because she could dig all that product out. But something like this is perfect. This is the NYX Black Retractable Liner. I finished this as part of my 50 Shades of Black project pan, and I have a second one that I have already started on. I really enjoy this liner. I'm wearing the other one today. It goes in the waterline so nicely, stays put, doesn't bleed, even in the summertime when I'm oily and things do start to transfer on me. It's a really, really nice liner. I am done with that one, and I have already started on my backup. I am a backup kind of girl, I've realized. Not with everything, but with those things that I tend to actually go through. I won't get a backup of a lipstick, for instance, and I generally don't get backups of foundations because those take me so long to complete. But brow products, eyeliners, lip liners, that sort of thing, the stuff I actually go through, I will pick up backups of that if the price is right. Nothing gets me like a good sale. Okay, the last product that I have here, I'm super excited about. This is my Huda Beauty Easy Blur Foundation. I have this in the shade 300N. I don't know where the cap is, but I actually cut her open to get the last little bits out of this container. And to Huda Beauty's credit, as far as this packaging goes, there was very little left in here when I cut it open, maybe 1 or 2 applications, but she was pretty much empty. So there is a lot of makeup where you end up leaving a lot of product inside the packaging that you can't easily get to, and that's always frustrating. But apparently the Easy Blur is not one of those products. I'm really excited about having finished this one. This is the foundation that I think took my top spot away from the Dior Backstage, which had been my favorite forever. I don't find the Easy Blur to be a similar formula to the Dior Backstage, but I kind of rank it by how often I want to use it and how consistently I go back to it. And the Dior Backstage was my favorite forever because it was just a really trustworthy, reliable foundation that would suit almost every situation. And I kind of feel like the Easy Blur was that for me as well. I may repurchase this in the future, but I have not done so yet. And that is because I discovered a new foundation that we will talk about in the second half of this video that I am super excited about, but also that cost me quite a lot of money. So given that expenditure that I have made, I don't think I need to go repurchase this right away. So that was it. Those were my empties for the month of April. Not a ton of stuff, but I do have some things that I feel like are almost there. So we should have a little bit more to talk about along the lines of empties next month. If you remember, February was kind of a high spend month for me. Did better in March, but I think at this point, April has broken all records for me. 2023 was when I discovered Pat McGrath. I know I was a little bit of a latecomer to that brand, but the year I discovered Pat McGrath, there were some records made there that I have not yet broken. But April definitely is a higher spend month than I have had in a while. April was sale month for a lot of retailers. Both Sephora and Ulta ran their sales. MAC was running their sale. There were a lot of sales happening. And I just so happened to see several items go on sale that had been on my wish list for quite a while. And I decided that this was the time to pick them up. And then because I don't do anything halfway and I'm not a quitter, I decided this was going to be the month where I just burned all of the gift cards that I received at Christmas. My family really did kind of spoil me at Christmas, and I burned them all. Well, that's not true. I think I have one Ulta gift card left, but there was a lot, you guys. I think they conspired. Actually, I know they conspired and just showered me with gift cards, which was delightful. I know gift cards can sometimes feel impersonal, and I suppose if I got one to Costco or Walmart, it might feel that way to me. But because my family knows me and they know my love of makeup, those were very special and meaningful to me, especially the one I got from my son. And so, given the number of my wish list items that were on sale, I decided that April was going to be the month that I cashed in all those chips, or most of those chips. So I still consider gift cards as spend for a month. I don't give myself a free pass for those things, even though technically the money's not coming out of my pocket. However, I definitely feel a little bit more free with my monthly beauty budget when I have some of those on hand. So let me tell you about one of the most exciting things I think that I purchased this month. I have never owned a Danessa Myricks eyeshadow palette. I have no experience with her eyeshadows. I had been eyeing the Groundwork, the Blooming Romance Groundwork palette for a long time. I almost purchased it last December, and I had made up my mind that I was going to purchase it during Sephora's spring sale. Now, I feel like Sephora's sale, if you're not shopping from the Sephora collection, the sale's not really that big a deal. Most of us are only getting 10% off. I happen to be in the 15% off bracket, but even 15% off of a product is not a ton. However, I really did want this palette, and 15% off was better than no percent off. And so I decided this April I was going to pick up the Blooming Romance palette. However, just before the sale started, Sephora put the Blooming Romance palette up on their sale section for $45, or I think it was $46, which was significantly more than I would have saved with my 15% off. And so I picked her up so quick. I picked this thing up so quick, and I have been using this, not nonstop, because I have a couple of other things here that I've also been playing with, but I have been really into the pinks pretty much all year, and I have really, really enjoyed these. I find her formulas so interesting. I feel like these creams perform very much like powders, which I feel like is a little unexpected. They're also a lot more buildable than I expected to be. I feel like these formulas are fairly sheer, and to get the looks that I want out of this, I do have to do a fair amount of building and layering. But the end result, I'm so pleased with the end result every time I have used this palette, even though it does require a little bit more care and a little bit more layering and building up than I'm used to with more pigmented formulas. Every time I've worn this, I've been so pleased by the look I've ended up with. And there is something very, I don't know, very artistic and painterly about the process of using this palette. The mixing of the tones and the building up of values, it feels very much like painting in a way, and I've been so thrilled with this palette. My favorite way is to use these on the eyes, but I have used them on the cheeks and the lips and really enjoyed the effect there as well. Overall, this has just been a wonderful first experience with Danessa Myricks' eyeshadows, and I want to try more, but I want to give this palette its moment in the spotlight and really, really enjoy her before I move on to another palette. That kind of makes it sound like I didn't purchase any other eyeshadow palettes in April, and that is not the case. However, the other two that I picked up are very, very different from this, not just in formula, but in color story and the kind of looks that I can get out of them. So I don't feel like necessarily purchasing the other two really pushed this one out of its current place of special importance in my collection. So the next palette, I actually think I picked this one up very early in the month. This was before the Blooming Romance palette. This is an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette. This is her Rose Metals palette. I remember hearing from someone whose tastes were very similar to mine that this was their favorite Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, and I have loved every ABH palette that I have owned. And so I kind of kept that in the back of my mind, and when I saw this palette pop up in my local TJ Maxx on the clearance rack for $13. First of all, I was shocked that it was still intact and not crushed to pieces on their clearance rack. She was in perfect condition, and she is so pretty. This does, I think, run a little warmer than I usually tend to gravitate towards. I know this palette looks completely untouched, but I have used it, and so far am really enjoying it. I made a really pretty mossy green look with this that I really enjoyed. Then there's also another kind of jewel tone shade that can be made with this one here and this shade as well. I have not yet dipped into these two shades, which I feel are the warmer shades in the palette, but my preferences tend toward things that are more neutral or cool than really warm shades. In any case, I haven't got a ton of use out of this palette yet, but so far I am enjoying it. I don't think this will become my favorite ABH palette. I think it would take something really extraordinary to unseat the Norvina palette as my #1 ABH palette of all time, but so far these are really nice. The last palette I picked up was also from a brand that I have never tried, or at least I've never tried their eyeshadows, and that was Makeup by Mario. This is a palette that went on my wish list when it first came out, but I didn't end up picking it up. This is the Ethereal Eyes Moonlight. This is the cooler version of his Ethereal Eyes, and I definitely considered picking up this palette when it was first released because this cool color story is very much up my alley. I am wearing it on my eyes today, but I didn't end up picking it up. I just stuck it on my wish list and kind of waited, and I'm glad that I did because I saw this pop up as an add-on to my Ipsy subscription, and I think it was $25 or something like that, significantly less than retail price. And I have been playing with it ever since when I'm not using the Groundwork palette. It makes such a beautiful, cool, smoky eye like the one I'm wearing today. It can also make some really soft everyday looks as well. It's really actually quite flexible in the types of looks I can get out of it. I actually can get a fairly warm look out of this, or rather a warm look on me. I think if you're warm tone, neutral is the best you're going to get out of this as far as warmth. But on my cool olive undertone, I feel like this side of the palette does show up a little bit more warm, and I don't mind that at all. I actually really prefer a palette to have a mix of cool and warmer shades in there, because I feel like looks that incorporate both warm and cool tones are the most interesting to me, and I do find them very flattering on my skin tone. I have heard some criticism about his shimmers, and after having used them, I understand why. These are very thin topper type shades. There is base color to these, but there's very, very little. They come off very sheer and kind of like a scattered sparkle. This is not something that's going to look foiled. I actually quite enjoy a formula like this, and I definitely feel like there's a place for this kind of formula in my collection and in my eyeshadow looks. However, I do feel like I could have done with a little bit more variation in the types of shimmer formulas in this palette. I would have preferred if one or maybe two of these shimmery shadows in this palette were this kind of scattered light topper effect, and then we could have replaced one of these with a more traditional metallic and maybe a super foiled, really blingy one. I think that would have really extended the range of what is already, I think, a very flexible and versatile palette. So I understand the criticism about these shimmers, and if you don't like that kind of more sheer topper type shade, I can see why this might not be your favorite palette. Although I could have done with a little bit more variety in the formulas, I don't object to this particular formula. And honestly, I have plenty of other more impactful shimmer shades that I can reach into from other palettes. I don't, guys, did I have lipstick on my teeth this entire time? Oh my gosh. And you didn't say anything. What was I saying? If you don't like these toppery shades, you're probably not going to like this palette. I don't know if they're my favorite, but I don't mind them. So overall, this palette has been a win for me so far. Okay, those are the 3 eyeshadow palettes that I picked up. There's quite a bit more here. Okay, how do we split this up? Where do I start? The desk in front of me is dominated by lip products. The lip product binge that I have been on for the last few months has continued definitely through this last month. I have been really into lipsticks lately, and since I discovered my favorite lip liner, which is NYX's Moonwalk. NYX Moonwalk is this beautiful, very cool lip liner that I feel like has really enabled me to wear a lot of lipsticks that in the past I would have dismissed as too warm for my undertone. And I feel like a whole world of lipstick has suddenly opened up to me, and I'm just buying all the things. I am also continuing to try to add to my collection of cool toned lip liners. I'm going to share with you a few more that I have added to my stash. Now in the March roundup, I think I showed you that I had completely finished the Maybelline Gone Greige lip liner, and I wasn't intending to pick up another one immediately just because I have so many others to work on. But I was really missing it, you guys. I kept on wanting to reach for that particular lip liner, and I didn't have it anymore. So I went and bought 2 more. I am already working on this one, and this is my backup here. Also, I'm about halfway through my NYX Moonwalk lip liner, which I cannot ever be without ever again. And so during the Ulta sale, I picked up a few more. NYX has an unfortunate habit of reformulating their lip liners on occasion, or changing the color of their lip liners in a sneaky sort of way over the years. They've done that with several shades, and if that happens to Moonwalk, I'm gonna riot. So I bought 3 more. I have no regrets. For the Sephora sale, I really feel like you get the most benefit from the Sephora sale, obviously, if you are purchasing from the Sephora collection, which is 30% off rather than the 10 or 15 or 20 you get off as part of their reward system. So on the recommendation of another cool tone girly, I went and picked up this lip liner here in Rosewood Mood. This is really, really nice. I wouldn't consider it super cool toned, at least not on me. The backs of my hands are a little bit warmer than the rest of my body, including my chest and my face. So things are going to look a little cooler on the back of my hands. It took me forever to figure that out as well. You just don't know the number of things that I've swatched on the back of my hand, thought, oh, that's nice and cool. That's going to be great on me. I brought it home, put it on my face and been like, what happened? Was it just the store lighting? No, it's just that my hands are warmer than the rest of me for whatever reason. In any case, this is a really nice one. I wouldn't call it cool toned, but I would call it cool toned friendly. Another one I have here is from About Face. This is their lip liner in the shade Little Little. This one is really nice, and she actually does show up cool toned on me. That's her next to Rosewood Mood there, which is a little bit warmer. I also picked up the Rimmel lip liner in the shade Cappuccino. This one, I remember hearing someone say that this was a dupe for MAC Stone. I don't find it to be a dupe. I actually have MAC Stone here. So this is Stone here. You can see that there's a little bit more gray there. And then there's Cappuccino there, which has a little bit of that violet undertone that I really like. It's just, it comes off as just a hair more saturated and more cool in the blue sense rather than in the gray sense. Anyway, I also picked up NYX's Line Loud liner in the shade, let's see, what is the shade? Fierce Flirt. This one's a bit lighter than the others, but also has a little bit of that coolness that makes it work on me. Really, really nice. You can see that Rosewood Mood is the warmest of them when compared to the others, but I do find that these all work on me. And finally, is this the last one? Yeah, I think this is the last one. I picked up the Revlon Color Stay Multi-Liner. This is a more glossy sheer lip liner, kind of along the lines of the Merit lip liner. It's got a brush on the end so you can blend it in, and it can be used just as an all-over lip color or as a liner. And that's what the Revlon one looks like right there. These are all so pretty. I have really enjoyed all of these. Even the Rosewood Mood that here, in comparison to these, is now looking kind of straight orange. I still have really enjoyed all of them. My kids are screaming their heads off outside, and you can probably hear it. They are not hurt. They're just having the time of their lives, apparently. Those are the lip liners that I picked up in April. That's quite a few. If we take out my backups of Grand Grage and Moonwalk, it's not quite as ridiculous, but still, that's a lot of lip liners. Okay, the Ipsy shop. What I picked up off of the Ipsy shop, other than my Makeup by Mario, which I don't think the Makeup by Mario palette was in the shop proper. I think it was only offered as an add-on to the subscription, but I did see some things in the shop that I wanted to pick up, and so I did. I'm currently working on an Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze, their brush through gel, which I picked up off of the Ipsy shop a couple months ago. Really have enjoyed it, and so when I saw another one pop up on there for something like, I think it was $6 or $8. Hey, brow gel is something I go through pretty regularly, so let's pick up another one. The picture on the website and the picture sent to me as part of my order confirmation showed the brow freeze in the tube with the brush, but this is the one they sent me. They sent me the one in a pot. I have never used this one. I'm a little bit annoyed that I didn't get exactly what I ordered. I mean, technically this is brow freeze, but I don't know. I might have to pick up their little brush and spatula duo. I actually think that's on the Ipsy shop as well right now. I guess we'll see. What I think of it. If I hate it, it's not that big a deal. It was $8. I will somehow survive. But I'm really hoping that I love it just as much as the other one. It doesn't look like it's gonna be as convenient as the one in the tube, but I don't know. Maybe I'll end up liking it even more. Who knows? I also saw that the YC Collection eyebrow pencil was back on the Ipsy shop. They have had it before, and I purchased it then, and I ended up really loving that eyebrow pencil. I enjoyed it so much, I looked up the YC Collection website to see if I could purchase one at full price. But the thing was like $20, and I'm not going to spend $20 on an eyebrow pencil. I go through eyebrow products often enough. I simply refuse to purchase a high-end product, or at least a high-end product at full price, when there are so many more affordable alternatives. That said, this was a really nice pencil, and I really did enjoy it. So when I saw it pop up on the Ipsy shop, I grabbed 4 of them. That combined with the eyebrow pencils from Bobbi Brown that I picked up off of the Ipsy shop back in March, I think it was, I'm set for eyebrow pencils for at least a year, maybe longer. we're good. We're good. Do I have anything else off of the Ipsy shop? Ooh, I do. It's just not in my drawer right now. There were a couple of other things that came as add-ons along with the Makeup by Mario eyeshadow palette. One of them I cannot find. There's bound to be one, right? The day that I'm able to show you every single item instead of popping up a picture like I'm about to, that will be a momentous day because I don't think it has happened yet in any single one of my videos. In any case, I did add on that blush wand. It arrived kind of later in the month, so I've only used it a couple of times, but it is a really pretty, almost kind of bronzy cheek color. It actually, in tone, reminded me very much of the other add-on I picked for that order, which was this adorable tiny little blush from Danessa Myricks. This is a mini of her Yummy Skin blush in Rose and Brunch. This is such, oh my goodness, it is such a pretty shade. I actually think this one is quite a bit pinker and less bronzy than the Pillow Talk shade, but without both of them here, I can't compare them side by side. I do know that when I put them on the cheeks, I felt like the overall effect was very similar. Now, I picked this up partially because I really did want to try Danessa Myricks blush formula. This is the first blush of hers that I have picked up, but I also must admit that part of my impetus to buy this was the packaging. This is the type of packaging that after the product is done, I'm keeping the packaging and putting other things in it because this is just so teensy and adorable. I love little things, miniature things. I just find them so adorable, and so this was definitely coming home with me. Again, this came a little later in the month, so I've only worn the blush once or twice, but so far it is really nice. That makes 3 blushes this month. Here I was telling you I only bought 1 blush. No, there were 3. The third one is another Jason Wu blush. I got another one, the one in lilac. Here, it's in my drawer. I got this one in March. I was just so enchanted by this shade. It looked just delicious, and I have loved this so much that I went and picked up a second shade. I just couldn't help myself. This one is also really, really beautiful. I actually like to put this one a little bit further back on the cheek and then put this on the apples of the cheek. That is a really pretty look, but I also like them separately as well. Such a really nice formula. It actually feels very, very much like a more high-end brand than it is priced as. These are both lovely. I do tend to like a glowy blush a little bit more, but the formula of these and the color of these is so nice. I don't mind. I don't mind mixing a little bit of highlighter into the blush in order to give me a little bit more of the glow that I want. Both of these have just been delightful. Okay, so that makes 3 blush purchases this month, and I think there were 6 last month. That is a lot of blush. I'm a little out of control here. Maybe not as out of control as I am with the lip liners, but pretty close. Pretty close. Let's see. Do I have one? I have one more backup that I picked up. This was just off of Amazon. This is where I get my Lilac Street Eternal Bond. This is my eyelash glue that I use to glue the little clusters on. This stuff is legit. I have tried several glues, and this one is the best. I get great longevity with this. I've gone through several tubes of this already, and when this one is gone, I will purchase another one. Okay, there are a few more purchases from Sephora, but I think we're going to talk about the lipsticks first. I didn't just binge on lip liners. I also binged big time on lipsticks as well. Like the lip liners, I've kind of been on a hunt for really, really good cool toned and cool tone friendly lipsticks that I can add to my collection because I'm just having so much fun with the lip products right now. So I have several of them here. I picked up a few more from MAC. I picked up a couple of shades out of their Powder Kiss line. Now, I think it was back in March that I first ordered Girls Weekend, but it was sold out everywhere and it was back ordered, and so I didn't receive it until just a couple of days ago. While I was waiting, I got impatient and just went to the MAC store and picked up the other color that I had been looking at to be my bridesmaid. So this is their new Powder Kiss formula. I'm just going to do a really awkward wrist swatch here. So let's be my bridesmaid right there. And then we have Girls Trip, which is even cooler. These are the 2 coolest shades in the new Powder Kiss lineup. Be My Bridesmaid here reads more as a neutral on me. Girls Trip is really properly cool. I am so intrigued by this new formula of theirs. It is a matte lipstick. It has a very hazy, blurry effect, and it's a little bit on the sheer side. It's just such an interesting formula. I find it very comfortable. And even though you can definitely do that kind of blurred out lip look, I struggle to make that look right on me because I have, like, just topographically, I have such a defined lip line. It just, my lip line is just, it's crisp, okay? So most of my life, lip liner has kind of been optional, and even now I mostly use lip liner as a way to tweak the color of a lipstick and to kind of bridge the gap between my undertone and the undertone of whatever lipstick I'm using. So it's not really something that I need in order to keep things inside the lines. But because I have such a defined lip line, I do kind of struggle to make the blurry lip look to look blurry on me without it just looking like I messed up with my lipstick and just drew outside the lines. You know what I'm saying? So it's not my favorite way to wear this, although I have successfully managed that look a couple of times. But so far I do prefer this with the lip liner. This actually kind of reminds me of combining a lip liner with a gloss, in that the gloss usually doesn't overpower the tone of the lip liner, except it's matte, obviously. My lip has kind of faded, so I'm gonna add some of this. I really enjoy both of these. I do think, not Girls Trip. This isn't Girls Trip. I've been saying Girls Trip this whole time. It's called Girls Weekend. Girls Weekend is my current favorite, but these are both really, really nice and very cool tone friendly, if that's something you're looking for. I also picked up MAC Viva Planet. I actually went into the store, and that's where I initially swatched this one. Gosh, this one and tone-wise, Viva Planet and Be My Bridesmaid are actually pretty similar. Well, quite similar. This formula, however, is obviously much more opaque. This formula here blurs out very, very easily. And obviously you can sheer out a normal lipstick as well. It just doesn't have quite the same hazy effect. Anyway, really pretty lipstick. Last lipstick, I was able to pick up this limited edition MAC lipstick from someone who still had a new one in their collection. I mostly wanted this for the packaging because have you ever seen anything more glorious than this? This was out toward the end of last year. I remember, I think it was in December, standing in a MAC store swatching this and wondering if I could pull it off because I just had to have this packaging. I didn't end up purchasing it then, but when I found someone in April who was willing to part with their unused bullet of this, I jumped at the chance. This is what she looks like here. She is a little bit on the warm side when it comes to the lipsticks I enjoy, but paired with NYX Moonwalk, it's not a problem at all. I'm going to swatch that next to Viva Planet just out of curiosity and Be My Bridesmaid. We'll see how much difference we've got there. You know what? I kind of feel like Be My Bridesmaid looked a lot more similar. Was it Be My Bridesmaid? Looked a lot more similar on camera than it actually does here on my wrist. A little bit more saturated than Viva Planet. So this is Be My Bridesmaid, that's Viva Planet, and that is Timeless Taupe, the one in the limited edition packaging that I'm so in love with. Yeah, those are definitely three different lipsticks. Although I'm collecting so many nudes, I'm eventually going to end up with a bunch of dupes. Time to rein it in, Rebecca. Okay, those were my MAC lipsticks that I picked up. I also picked up one from Mob Beauty. This is the first product I've ever purchased from Mob Beauty. I'm not sure how I feel about the cardboard packaging. I get the reasons for it. I get the rationale, but I'm concerned about durability, to be honest. So this is their lipstick in M102. I came across someone saying this was a beautiful, cool tone, and they were right. This is a very cool tone. That's it right there. She actually ends up looking a little dead gray on my lips if I'm not careful. I feel like I can get away with it a little easier when I just dab it. However, this paired with MAC Stone and then my Clinique Black Honey just in the center of the lips is just beautiful. It also has a little bit of that purpley undertone that I really do find flattering. I also picked up this lipstick from Kiko Milano that is in this very luxe packaging here. This is one of their Gossamer Emotion lipsticks, and this is in the shade 137, apparently. I think it has a name. I think most of the Kiko products have a name, but I only ever see the numbers printed on the actual packaging. So if I can find the name of this one, I will put it up on the screen. Oh my gosh. Wrist swatching, I feel like gives you a more true color, or at least more true to how it looks on me, but it is a little awkward. Okay, so that's the Gossamer Emotion Lipstick from Kiko. It's definitely a little bit more on the brown side. I've only worn this one a couple of times, but I liked it. I also picked up one from Rimmel. You know, I've only owned a few things from Rimmel, but everything I've ever picked up from them, I have been really impressed with. This is a nude shade, a kind of a pinky nude shade. I think it's a little bit more warm than the other ones that I have here, but I still have really enjoyed this one, especially with the help of a nice cool toned lip liner. I feel like this is something I would struggle with if I wore it on its own, but paired with a nice cool tone lip liner, it's beautiful. During the Ulta sale, I picked up this Anastasia Beverly Hills Lip Velvet in the shade Pale Mauve. I feel like, okay, there we go. I feel like that one's coming off pretty similar to Viva Planet there. Just a little deeper and slightly more purple. That's how that's looking. Okay. I do feel like there is some variety here. These are not all reading as the same lipstick, but there's kind of some similarity happening here. The last lipstick I picked up was something I found at TJ Maxx. This was in the shade Patina, which I have been looking for a long time, but is no longer showing up in the regular lineup on their website or in other retailers, but I was thrilled to find it there. I actually think this is like a deluxe size of their lipstick. Of all of these, this is definitely the most saturated lipstick, but it is still within the range that I find wearable on my skin tone. I generally get along better with lipsticks that are a little desaturated. They have a little bit of gray or brown mixed in with them. But again, a good complementary lip liner can make a lot of things work. This is nice with a little bit of a deeper liner kind of blended in. That is quite a few lipsticks that I picked up in April. But given the number of lip liners, I mean, we had to have enough to match up with the lip liners, right? That's how it goes, right? I have a couple of lip glosses. I was a little more conservative with that category. I only picked up 2. The first one is this Heart%. This is their Gloss Stain, I think it is. It's in the shade Eclipse Gray. This is a beautiful lavender gray shade right there. It is a nice lip stain, but I don't usually wear it that way. I usually wear it over something that I want to cool off a little bit. It just gives that kind of grayish lavender tint. This isn't something I'd feel the need to cool off, but it's still pretty. I really enjoy these little lip tints. I think this is number 4. I think this is the 4th that I have purchased from them. And last is a little buxom lip gloss that I picked up at TJ Maxx just out of curiosity, to be honest. I've never tried one of their glosses in the stick format, but I just on a whim picked it up. It was something like $4 at TJ Maxx, so I couldn't help myself. It is a really pretty kind of sheer pink gloss. It's not going to give you any wabam color. I like using this one over a lip that is a little too nude for me, or maybe a little too gray for me, that I've gone a little too far in that direction, and I just need to bring a little bit more life back to my lips. This is a good one for that. It is very comfortable. I don't think it is as unique or impressive a formula as their lip polishes. You know, their lip polishes are my favorite lip gloss of all time, but I have been using it quite a lot, and it is nice. Okay, so the only things we have left to go over are my Sephora purchases. These are what I blew my Sephora gift cards on, all of these products here. And oh my gosh, did I do some damage here. First, I got a little container of the Huda Beauty Ube birthday cake loose setting powder. I bought this. It's just a little mini. I've never used the Huda Beauty. I've never used the Huda powder before, and it was just the color made me curious. I was just curious is honestly what it was, and curiosity does drive my makeup purchases fairly often, and that can definitely backfire. I mean, every once in a while I'll find something that's phenomenal and I'm glad that I experimented, but it can really backfire on me. I know that this is meant for deeper skin tones than my own, but I have so much enjoyed the experience of a pink powder. I use the One Size Ultra Pink powder. Love that powder. I needed to know. I needed to know what this was like on the skin. This, if I bake with this or if I press it into my skin with a puff, I definitely get a very blushy look, which can be nice, but it's definitely not something I'm going to go through the T-zone with. I feel like I can get away with it much better if I just dust it on. It is certainly not as brightening on me, on my skin tone, as the pink powder is, or as brightening as this would be on someone with a deeper skin tone. But it does seem to be a very nice powder, and I'm not mad at it. From the Sephora collection, I picked up one of their matte eye pencils. I have used up all of my eyeshadow bases recently. I went through a Sigma one, I went through a liquid eyeshadow that I was using as a base. I went through the previous version of the Sephora crayon, and I really do enjoy an eyeshadow pencil as an eye base, and so I picked up one of their matte ones. This one is in, I think the shade is Stone Matte, and their pencils make a really nice eye base because they start out very creamy. They're easy to spread over the eyelid. Even if you have slightly more mature eyelids, then it sets down and it doesn't move, and I found that the stuff on top of it also likewise does not move, and that's what I'm looking for in an eye base. So I picked that one up. It is not expensive to begin with, but it was even less so with the 30% off. Then I picked up a few other little minis. I picked up a little mini size of the One Size Secure the Sweat primer. I think this was on my list of things I didn't buy in 2024, but when I saw it as a mini, I had to try it. And you guys, this is really good. As an oily girl, okay, that is getting oilier by the day as we move into warmer weather, this is really, really nice. I know that I've heard some people had some trouble with it pilling under their makeup, and honestly, I really think that has a lot more to do with skin prep, what you're using underneath it, than it does with the product itself. I have not experienced any pilling. No, I did. There was one day that I experienced some pilling because I didn't let my sunscreen set down long enough before I went in with this, and I did get a little bit of pilling right here between my brows. That's the only time I've had that problem with this primer. I think prep is going to determine whether or not this works for you and how long you let that skincare settle into your skin before going in with the primer. But this stuff is extremely effective. I think the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder still holds my #1 spot, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Once summer properly rolls around and I am seriously oily, we'll just have to see. We'll have to do a little head-to-head and see which one holds up better, because this one seems pretty heavy-duty and not at all in a bad way. In addition to that, I noticed something else about this as well. I've talked to you about pore blurring or pore filling primers and how I've never really gotten one to work for me that I felt significantly reduced the size or appearance of my pores once makeup has been applied over it. Like I used to have the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer that I know so many people swear by, and I would put it on, and yes, I would notice an immediate pore blurring effect with that primer. But as soon as I put on foundation over that primer, I felt like that effect was gone. I even did a half and half, you know, trying to compare the side with the primer and the side without the primer. Once foundation goes on over those kind of silicone-y pore blurring primers, at least in my experience, the pore blurring effect is gone. So I have never really found a pore blurring primer that really maintained its blurriness underneath makeup. And honestly, that's kind of the point for me. If I'm not wearing makeup, I'm also not wearing primer, you know? And in any case, I don't know if this advertises itself as a pore blurring primer, but it is the only primer I have ever used that immediately reduced the appearance of my pores. And then once makeup went over the top of it, it maintained that kind of smoother appearance. I feel like it just really smoothed out my texture and stayed that way even after I put on makeup over top of it. That alone might edge this out over the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm Powder, with the exception that I think this might be a warmer weather only type primer for me, but we'll have to see. We'll see how it works out. So the rest of what I purchased from Sephora, this is probably the most exciting purchase. Not the most expensive though, shockingly. I picked up the Prada foundation. This is the foundation that I have been talking about recently. This is the reason I'm not repurchasing the Huda Beauty Easy Blur foundation anytime soon. This is a $70 foundation, which was a little painful. Even with my discount, it was over $60, still incredibly expensive for a foundation. However, the reason why I decided to buy this was because I was in Sephora and out of curiosity, I decided to swatch them. A couple of shades in particular looked like they might suit me. I think it was the MC15 and the MC45. Those were the cool shades. 15 to 45 seems like a huge leap, but once you swatch them out, they're very, very similar, which I thought was interesting. In any case, I had them put together a couple samples for me so that I could take it home and try it out properly and see what the shades looked like in natural light. And I had a couple of experiences that I have never had with a foundation. The first one was this matched me perfectly. This foundation is my skin in a bottle. This is such a good match. I don't have to put it over my whole face. I could just put a little bit in the center. I just blend out the edges. No one would be the wiser. I don't know if I can make you understand how incredible this is. What a unique experience this is. My cool olive undertone is just not represented well within foundation ranges. When there is an olive tone, generally speaking, it'll be a warm or neutral olive tone. It is so rare to find a cool tone that works on my olive skin. And I don't even think this one is described as olive. But if you're about my skin tone and you are an olive, get a sample of the MC45. That's what this one is. The MC15 ended up being a little too peachy for me, but in value, they were very close. I could make the other one work, but I don't have to make anything work with this shade. The second unique experience that I had with my sample of the Prada foundation was I put the foundation on and then I came back 4 hours later and it looked exactly the same as it did when I put it on. Now, granted, this was on kind of a colder day. I tend to be a little bit oilier when it's warmer. So I don't know if that will hold up as we move kind of into the warmer weather and I get oilier. I don't necessarily know if that perk is going to hold fast, but it was a very unique experience. I don't think that's ever happened to me before either. You would expect that from a very matte kind of full-on foundation, and that's not what this is. It is incredibly lightweight and it is very, very skin-like. I don't mean to be dramatic or anything, but I feel like this kind of just disappears into my skin. I don't 100% know if it's wholly a function of the color matching me so well or the formula. Those are the primary things that I experienced with those samples of the Prada foundation, and they were unique and remarkable enough that after finishing that sample, I almost immediately went out and purchased the full size. Okay, there was one more purchase, or technically 3 more purchases from Sephora. The first one was a little duo of deluxe size perfumes from Ellis Brooklyn. It was their beach duo that had Miami Nectar, and Guava Granita was the other one. I actually think my daughter has that one right now. As you may know, if you've been listening to me at all over the last few months, I discovered the Ellis Brooklyn Vanilla Milk earlier in the year. I have been so just all about that perfume since the beginning of the year. It's a beautiful vanilla scent with this gorgeous lactic note in it. I have just been loving it. I picked it up off of the Ipsy shop, and then once I realized how much I loved it, I went and bought like 3 more bottles. And I have already completely emptied one, and I'm well into my second bottle of the vanilla milk. So when I was at Sephora, I went and sniffed a few of their other perfumes, and these 2 were the ones that really caught my notice the most. As we move into the warmer months, I am a little bit more into fruity florals than a straight gourmand, which the vanilla milk is, and that's exactly what Miami Nectar and Guava Granita are. I enjoyed these little ones so much, and I got such a good response from the people around me while wearing them that I did something a little impulsive. I went and bought a full size of both. Now, this is pretty significant for me because I've never been much of a fragrance wearer. I don't know what's happened to me. I think it started with the Kayali Eden Juicy Apple. No, I think it started earlier than that. I think it started with the Kilian Angel Share. I discovered that back in, I think, 2022. And was pretty obsessed with that perfume for a while. Then when I found the Kayali Eden Juicy Apple, that perfume, although it was disappointing to me in terms of performance, that perfume turned me into a daily fragrance wearer. And that has just continued through my Ellis Brooklyn Vanilla Milk and now onto these perfumes. Now, obviously, the purchase of 2 full-size bottles, incidentally, before I had even finished the little one, but I was enjoying those perfumes so much that I had already made up my mind to purchase them, and I figured I might as well do it before the Sephora sale was over, because I do feel like if you're buying a pretty big ticket item, that 10 or 15% off that you're getting matters more than if you're picking up a lip gloss or an eyebrow pencil, you know? So I decided impulsively on the very last night of the sale, the last hour of the sale, I went ahead and pulled the trigger and bought these both, and I have no regrets. This purchase did put me over the limit of my gift cards. I completely exhausted my gift cards and then had to pay for some of this out of my own pocket, but I don't mind at all. Of all of these purchases here in front of me, I think these ones are the big winners. It was my Groundwork palette, the Prada, and the 2 perfumes. These are the big winners. I feel like the Makeup by Mario palette is probably a pretty close runner-up. We'll give that an honorable mention. Really enjoying that palette as well. The surprising thing, though, is looking at all of these products here in front of me, there's quite a few. There should be some misses in here. I mean, just, it's a numbers game, right? There's bound to be something in here I don't like. There's nothing. There's not a single product here that I'm not pretty thrilled with. Now, I have not tried the Brow Freeze yet, so this, I don't know, maybe this will be my miss. Maybe I will just be so annoyed with the pop format of this Brow Freeze. But maybe not. Maybe this will all be solid wins for me. And I think that's pretty remarkable if that ends up being the case. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!